400 seconds. That's less than 7 minutes. In the time it takes to brew a coffee, an Iranian missile could reach Tel Aviv. When the Fattah 1 was unveiled in 2023, critics called it fiberglass fiction. But by 2026, the laughter has stopped. Following the intense missile escalations of 2025, it's clear this Mach 15 Conqueror is built to turn the Iron Dome into a museum piece. The Pentagon has entered a hypersonic panic, pouring over $20 billion into a race to catch up. From the B-52-launched ARRW to the ambitious Golden Dome shield, the US is scrambling to counter a weapon that moves faster than a human can react. Is the Fattah a genuine game-changer or a high-tech bluff? Today we explore the 400-second threat and the terrifying reality of a world where the speed of war just tripled. Iran's Fattah, what it actually is. To understand why the Fattah sent shockwaves through the Pentagon, you have to look past the military parades. You have to look at the cold, hard numbers. The Fattah 1 is a 12-meter-long beast, weighing in at nearly 4,500 kilograms. It's a two-stage solid-fuel missile with a range of 1,400 kilometers. That's roughly 870 miles, placing every major city in Israel and nearly every U.S. base in the Middle East inside its kill zone. But the range isn't what makes it a conqueror. It's the speed. We are talking about a top velocity of Mach 15. That is 18,500 kilometers per hour, or 5 kilometers every single second. At that speed, the air in front of the missile doesn't just move, it combusts into a shroud of superheated plasma. This plasma layer is a double-edged sword. It generates temperatures that would melt a standard missile, but it also absorbs radar waves, making the Fattah a stealth threat through sheer kinetic violence. What truly separates the Fattah from a standard ballistic missile is its second stage. While a normal warhead falls in a predictable arc, the Fattah's warhead features a spherical solid fuel engine with a thrust vectoring nozzle. This engine within a warhead ignites about 300 to 500 kilometers from the target. For 50 seconds, it provides active thrust, allowing the missile to perform lateral maneuvers, dodging left, right, up, and down at hypersonic speeds. This creates a cone of uncertainty for defenders. By the time an ARRW or David's sling interceptor is launched, the Fattah has already changed its flight path 3 times. And for those who thought this was just a prototype, by early 2026, the data from real-world engagements tells a different story. Analysts suggest that in saturation attacks, at least 1 in 10 of these high-speed warheads is cutting through even the most dense defense grids. When each Israeli interceptor costs upwards of $2 million and the Fattah is built in mass production facilities in the Iranian desert, the math of war starts to shift in Tehran's favor. What makes it so scary anyway? You might be wondering, don't we already have intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs that go Mach 20? The answer is yes. But an ICBM is like a freight train on a fixed track. Once it is launched, the laws of orbital mechanics dictate exactly where it will land. If you know the starting point and the velocity, you can calculate the destination and meet it with an interceptor. This is why systems like the ARRW and THAAD have been so successful in the past. The Fattah changes the geometry of the battlefield. It operates on what's called a depressed trajectory. It stays lower in the atmosphere, skipping along the edge of space like a stone across a pond. Because it can maneuver at those altitudes, it doesn't have a predicted landing spot until the final seconds of flight. This creates a cone of uncertainty that spans hundreds of miles. A defender isn't just trying to hit a bullet with a bullet, they're trying to hit a bullet that is actively dodging. But the real terror isn't just the speed, it's the timing. This missile reached operational status just as the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, warned that Iran's uranium enrichment had reached 83.7%, just a hair's breadth away from the 90% required for a nuclear warhead. By the time the June War of 2025 broke out, the world realized that the Fattah wasn't just a conventional weapon. It is a delivery vehicle for a potential nuclear future. Strategically, it's a masterstroke of psychological warfare. It tells Israel, your multi-billion-dollar Iron Dome is now glass. Each Israeli ARRW interceptor costs roughly $3 million. A single battery of THAAD is worth nearly $1 billion. By launching mass-produced Fattah missiles in a salvo, Iran can effectively bankrupt a nation's defense budget in a single night of combat. This isn't just a race of technology, it's a race of attrition. And in a 400-second window, there is no room for a second guess. The US response, ARRW Halo LRHW. While Iran was perfecting the Fattah, the United States was realizing it had a hypersonic gap to close. As of the fiscal year 2026 budget, the Pentagon has officially entered a hypersonic panic, requesting over $3.9 billion for research alone, part of a broader $180 billion research and development investment. The US is playing catch-up with three primary heavy hitters, each with specs designed to overshadow the Iranian threat. First, the AGM-183A, Air-Launched Rapid Response Weapon. This is a 6,600-pound beast measuring 22 feet long. After a series of on-again, off-again funding cycles, the 2026 request includes $387 million to begin procurement. The ARRW is designed for raw, unadulterated speed, climbing to high altitude before releasing a glide vehicle that hits Mach 20. That is 24,000 kilometers per hour. At a unit cost of $15 million to $18 million, the US plans to load these onto B-52 bombers, which can carry up to 31 hypersonic weapons, each using new specialized pylons. Then there is the Army's Dark Eagle, officially the long-range hypersonic weapon. This is a massive truck-launched system with a range that was recently revealed to be even greater than first thought, up to 3,500 kilometers. It uses a 34.5-inch booster to launch the common hypersonic glide body. The Dark Eagle can strike a target 3,000 kilometers away in less than 20 minutes. In the 2026 budget, the Army requested $354 million to procure the first three all-up round missiles, which cost roughly $41 million each. Finally, the Air Force is betting big on the Hypersonic Attack Cruise Missile. Unlike the Fattah, which is a glider, the HACM uses a Northrop Grumman scramjet engine. This allows it to maintain Mach 8 speeds across a 1,900-kilometer range while flying at much lower radar-evading altitudes. The 2026 budget poured $803 million into HACM development alone, aiming for full integration on F-15E Strike Eagles by 2027. But the most expensive line item isn't a missile, it's the Golden Dome. The US has committed $15.7 billion to a space-based tracking layer. This includes the Hypersonic and Ballistic Tracking Space Sensor, a constellation of satellites designed to track the dim heat signatures of maneuvering missiles from birth to death. Combine that with the Glide Phase Interceptor, a program Northrop Grumman is developing under an $832 million contract, and you see the true scale of the race. The US isn't just building faster bullets, they are spending hundreds of billions to build a net that can catch them. Real capability or just good propaganda? Iran has a long history of military optimism. In the past, we've seen stealth jets that turned out to be fiberglass mock-ups and quantum computers that were actually $600 off-the-shelf motherboards. Is the Fattah just the latest entry in this hall of mirrors? As of early 2026, the answer is it's complicated. Analysts at the IISS and CSIS have pointed out that the Fattah 1 isn't a true hypersonic glide vehicle like the Russian Avangard or the Chinese DF-17. Those systems are essentially gliders that fly cold for thousands of kilometers. The Fattah, by contrast, appears to be a highly evolved member of the Fateh 110 family, the same solid fuel lineage that has been Iran's workhorse for 20 years. Essentially, Iran took the proven airframe of the Fateh 313, shortened the body, and replaced the standard warhead with a maneuverable re-entry vehicle equipped with its own rocket motor. Western skeptics originally argued that a true hypersonic missile must be able to maneuver at Mach 5 throughout its entire flight. The Fattah likely only achieves its Mach 15 claim during a brief terminal sprint toward the target. In other words, for 90% of its flight, it's a standard ballistic missile, and standard ballistic missiles can be tracked by high-end radar. However, the propaganda argument took a hit during the missile exchanges of late 2025. Recovered debris from strikes near the Nevatim Air Base confirmed the presence of a thrust vectoring nozzle that had clearly been under high thermal stress. Israeli defense reports admitted that while their Arrow 3 system had an 80% to 90% interception rate, Approximately 36 Iranian missiles broke through during the 12-day conflict. This is where the propaganda becomes posture. Even if the Fattah is just 50% as capable as Tehran claims, it has already achieved its primary goal: strategic ambiguity. By forcing the US and Israel to assume the worst, Iran has successfully shifted the defense posture of the entire region. Israel is now rushing the Arrow 4 and Skysonic into production, systems designed specifically for unpredictable targets. When you are forcing your enemy to spend $3 billion on a new shield just to counter your $1 million missile, you've already won the economic war, even if your missile never hits its target. Iran just joined the Mach club. Whether it's real, bluff, or somewhere in between, it's forcing the US to spend billions, prep interceptors, and move fast. Because when a missile claims it can beat every defense in 7 minutes, nobody waits to find out if it's bluffing. So smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next shockwave. We're out!